Okie dokie. Today we start properly as ralphschism.com. Now that sounds a bit, well, first of all, I have to write a proper essay at some point about why schism. It's not a contentious word. Schism has been used in history as a sort of slightly scary concept. No. Schism, because in fact it actually came from my funny friend, the brown man. I might get onto him at some point. He just threw it into my life via the phone. But it's a schism. It's just a line. Give up all the past, all of it. Now, pretty much, this is pretty much the anniversary of the end of a 10-year odyssey, which I shall go into at some point. But I'm inspired only by one line of messaging. A few months ago. Now I cannot speak about this person in any way, but I think it's reasonable in the existence of, well, I'm not at my best because I've been busy this morning. I've been up since 20 past 5 and I've even bought and set up ralphschism.com. So what? People do that all the time. Hundreds of thousands of times a week, people will set up a new identity website. Let's start with the word. This is short and sweet. Broadcast. Now, I totally decry any form of religion. Any. And that's from Catholicism down to New Age, shamanist, supposedly pagan, ancient religious ways. Now, people won't like that. I believe unquestionably, no doubt about it, there is an ineffable other force, reality, power, energy. No question about it. But I don't talk about it ever, because I don't think any human has ever existed unless we all live in separate little universes of reality. In other words, we're a separate universe where we're translating our own reality that we actually live, and it's not confused by going mentally awry, which can happen. As I say in all the video bits and bobs that I've made, I'm constant. I've been like this for 10 years, actually longer. 20 years. Every day I wake up pretty early and I'm always constant, calm. Occasionally, really terrible things in life are ongoing. Yep. That one ongoing many years. Me, totally innocent. Occasionally really hard things are ongoing, and of course you're crushed for days, sometimes weeks. Life isn't worth living unless you go through periods like that, because only going through periods like that do you, yes, eventually evolve, come through, and you're new and you're deeper. Have I turned this on? Yeah, I'm inspired by, I've got to loop back into something. I'm inspired by only one line. Tell me your stories of simple life. Now, for various reasons, in over 20 years, I've had to go into super simple life mode for two reasons. Firstly, to save money. Now, that's always ends up a pleasure. Always. There is no... Eventually, it always ends up a satisfying pleasure. Money, I've no interest in money. I'm only interested in every day waking up and I'm going to battle on, but my real schism is stop fighting. That doesn't mean I have some kind of desperate need to fight inside. No, there's no point. British society is totally and utterly lost. So, tales of simple existence from the past only, which I'm going to demonstrate a little bit by tales of simple living now. The other reason for simple living is because it frees you up to actually enjoy the lessons you learn. That's the key. Eventually, to enjoy the silver linings, the lessons learned. Lessons learned is a bit hard, but in other words, as a concept, do we really? And even if we do, not sure it's that helpful actually, because it would be contingent on everybody else learning really from this. I'm beginning to look like a prat, but this is just a kind of quick start. That backpack is there. If you don't know what simple living is, now I've actually been living here 6 months, stuck, broken down. Best thing that's ever happened, or one of the few best things. That's there because if people go past here, this is a dog walking track, and see a backpack like that, they think, safe. Not a drug addict, but a walker. There's a very well-known walking track here. And so people respond to you in a certain, more gentle, less fearful way, because many people who live in vans are skunk addicts or whatever, or a little bit fizzy, let's just call them. I don't want to be thought like that, not out of self-image, because I want healthy, good, nice encounters with people. The problem in Britain, you cannot meet anybody who has taken in over the years the genuine philosophy or thoughtfulness in good books, good literature, and we have this morning on Radio 4 two things. So at 6:25 we have a segment on, food has gone up 30% in 2 years. Let's be crystal clear about this society, because I've gone around for 10 years not making videos, that's the wrong way to put it, just capturing, chronicling realities in our society. Now this is a region, the whole region, I only think in regions, 30-mile region, circles. This is a region full of what you would call, use shortcut language, Guardian readers, meaning they would call themselves thoughtful, progressive, egalitarian. Well, they don't use those. They use the P word, of course, but they would, if they were had a gun to their head, they would call themselves an ass. They would call themselves egalitarian. Let's keep to simple words. No. The whole region is absolutely corrupted, perverted by property prices. like Cornwall, for example, and one or two other places. Wiltshire, the Cotswolds. Yeah. But all this, they're so earnest, self-regarding people who preach, and many of them make money out of setting up themselves as some kind of, oh, I'm a good person doing good things in the community. They use that word, but there aren't any communities left. On behalf of people, I life coach, I heal, I do all these things, yoga, blah blah blah, workshops for money. Not one of them, and I know many of them, have got any zen or genuine peace inside of them. I see them, I know them, I give up, I have a schism. No more of that. I've never been sucked into their world, but I've been on the side of their world, them as people, enough to know that they do not have any peace and centeredness. Okay, now that sounds horrible, and I can't help. All I can do is put out my stories, and I'm not actually interested in the negative version being the past, whatever. Right, loop back into what matters. Yeah, super simple life gives you time to really process things, and that's the only key to pain, hurt. I don't have any baggage. I'm constant and don't have any baggage. I say I'm bulletproof also, but you're narcissistic. No. If you have real tragedies in your life and get through them, and every day can wake up not only with a smile on your face, but things are, but being on top of things, and your mind is dead sharp, and you recall all the right things that you need to do over the next few days, which I do. You're bulletproof. You have a heart. Emotion is ongoing. You can never escape emotion. Love. And the consequences of love, which is often pain, real pain. All love is. Anyway, let's just keep to the point. So, simple living. I'm going to do a whole series on simple living. But, yes, oh, I know what I was going to say. Right. So, Radio 4, 25 past 6 this morning on food's gone up a third. No, it hasn't. It's gone up a lot more. And let's be crystal clear about this country. Because I was a single parent many years, and I started to roam around in spring 2020, and I always notice a lot of things. The way that the staple foods in this region went up in May, June 2020 by 20%. Oh, they'd run out, of course, if you remember that. They'd run out of certain things, but they're the things that people buy, by definition. They're the staples that ordinary people, let's call them people in the bottom third, are having to feed themselves and their children with. And when a few months later, June, July 2020, the shelves started to fill back up, almost everything had gone up. Then 20%. I'm talking basic fish fingers, things like that. Let's be crystal clear. That's not just profiteering. That's beyond profiteering. That is the notion that you can have, no matter what you're, and I am not going to express my opinions on any medical matters, except I just feel sorry for people who just only obsessing on their body and medical matters. Because keeping peace and centeredness is also at least being aware of the reality of the demos, or the political landscape that affects us all, every single person, and the price of food is political. So we're going through what everybody else, not me, called a total crisis. And yet the price of basic food around that time went up 10-20% already. That's before the 30% food inflation over the last 2 years, according to the latest data. Excuse me. No. That's actually, if you want to know the definition of I don't, like any intelligent person, we can't really use the word evil. It's a silly word, but if you want to know the definition of evil, that's it. If there is such a thing as evil. But then we have now, it's the 1 year anniversary of Ukraine. Now, all my life, I've been a pacifist. And that's difficult. And I've had periods of like, hang on a minute. What are the definitions of necessary self-defense, etc., etc.? Now, all you have to do is study Yugoslavia, actually, 30 years ago, to realize, no. Lunatics get armed and thousands, hundreds of thousands get hurt, maimed, killed, tortured, the most disgusting, despicable treatment. All conflict, all of it. As soon as it breaks out, a solution must be found. But listening to Radio 4 and all sorts of thoughtful broadcast. But broadcast is this. Let's be clear. I'm not talking about me as a television channel. Broadcast is a great word if people would only use it in the original sense. Yes, I decry all religious activity, which includes anybody who takes money or organizes any gathering to preach their supposedly spiritual insight. No. Broadcast is a word used in the Bible. It's probably used before that. For the person, let's just call them the older, wiser person, or the farmer, broadcasting their seed. And broadcast is putting out good books, good pamphlets, material like this, or I think it's better to put it in an audio form. That's broadcast, just broadcasting helpful, useful knowledge. And I know what's good. And the person who's inspired this said to me that she has spent a lot of time looking for the intelligent commentators online. It's all mainly online these days. Okay, we have to accept that. We're not going to roll back from that. But can find nobody. Well, I knew that quite a few years ago. I can find nobody. Even my heroine ruined it 6 months ago, or 4 or 5 months ago. Meghan, when she said, "But Sam Bankman-Fried, he's so ugly." Excuse me, we knew not to talk about people like that 40 years ago. That's just across the line. And I considered her, Meghan Down, to be the only public broadcaster who I thought largely, with some reservations, because she couldn't understand Simple Life, for example, by definition, because she's American. They simply cannot. Yeah, I'm sorry, she ruined it for me. Anyway, what were we on broadcasting? Pacifism. The message needs to go out at the beginning. Walk away. Always. 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 Now I'll go back to that later. Obviously, in Ukraine, human beings, are being used as the blackmail tool. Ukraine is a huge country. People could have walked out of the cities on day one and set up such that they're not targets. But nobody can talk like that. Now I'm going to come back to that with some authority, because 25 years ago I was flying a lot, aeroplanes, doing photo survey all around Central Europe, and seeing how Warsaw, for example, there's hardly any built-up areas around it. I mean, for 100 miles in a circle. War is targeting civilians. I spent quite a lot of time flying over Warsaw, and I would look out of the window and think, God, yeah, I get it now. It's about murdering civilians. All of these kind of bigwigs and so-called thoughtful people who are the commentariat, the lot of them, they can't speak simply. This is murdering civilians, murdering people. Well, your first step is to walk away, is to walk. Anybody can do it, nearly anybody. You have to carry your old sick and infirm, of course you do, but you walk away. Now that's going to sound very naive, but I'm going to loop back into it. But we need people to understand what peace means, and I'm not talking about in Ukraine now, I'm talking about between ordinary people. And I know that nobody understands that anymore. Forgiveness, real forgiveness, actually lived bodily forgiveness, and such things. Anyway, I shall come back to all of this. This is just a kind of day one, and I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm going to.